the order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Burgess.
Here.
Warden.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Poskett.
Here.
Washington. Williams. Here.
All right, we'll go to item number 2, discussion of Comcast phones and fire service. Come on up. Get the hot seats.
Good evening. My name is Johan Fernando. My name is Brian Hardy. I'm with Comcast. Brian will be making the presentation. It's on.
Is it green light? Hello?
Here what happens is you're in the center, so what you're saying, capital shield, you're in right out there, they can't hear us.
Okay, I will walk you through our proposal that we have for the village. Just a little recap, we sat down with the finance director and went through the current village phone bills. We did pretty much an audit on those services. We discovered a number of lines and circuits that are no longer in use or needed by the village that are be available to be disconnected through your call one. That will result in a savings to the village of approximately $498.70. So that's a monthly savings that the village will realize by disconnecting those service. So that's $2,498.70 per month. And what we're proposing for the village is a new internet service. This is a Comcast service that's based on our fiber optic technology. So that will provide a highly scalable service for the village to start to build their infrastructure based on our fiber products. The service provides, our fiber optic service provides highly reliable service. It also has service level agreements. So if you have any kind of service disruption, if our equipment fails on your premise, there are guaranteed response times that we will come out and replace them, repair that equipment. And if there's a fiber cut in the network, we'll also repair that with a given SLA. The SLAs for that is 4 hours for equipment failure, so we'll be out and replace that within 4 hours. And if there's a fiber cut, it would be 6 hours. Currently, across all of our Ethernet fiber customers, we're averaging a 2-hour service restore. But the good news is it's a highly reliable service, so generally once it's in provision, it just doesn't go down. It's super reliable. It's also the bandwidth that the village would give would be dedicated to the village, so you wouldn't be sharing that. It would always be dedicated to you, available 24/7 for your use. It's also a symmetric service, so the bandwidth, the speed is the same for the download and upload speed. That makes your internet application perform much better. It's a scalable service, so it can go from the proposed speed is 100 megabits per second. It can go all the way to 10 gigabits per second, which means as the village needs grow as the years go on, there's no equipment change. We just have to basically, if you want to increase your bandwidth, there's a contractual change that we would make, and we'd be able to increase your bandwidth within really 30 days of receiving notification that you need to increase bandwidth. It's also a monitored service. Comcast monitors this. We have an operations center in Naperville and one in Denver, Colorado. So we're constantly monitoring the service 24/7, 7 days a week. That way, if there's something that might happen in the middle of the night, we'll see it first. We'll notify the village. We'll start an initiative to try to restore that service or correct whatever is wrong. So that's our proposal. That service would cost $1,572 a month. It would still allow for a net savings of $926.70 a month. It's actually a little bit higher than that. We currently have a service that you could disconnect. We could produce about another $90 in savings. So you still be saving almost $1,000 a month of your current telecommunications spend. Thank you for your consideration.
Do you have any questions? Trustee Burgess.
First of all, thank you very much for coming out. I did talk to Mohan about this. We talked, I would say 2 or 3 months ago, he was talking about it. He had talked somewhat about saving. My first question, installation, how much would you guys charge?
There is no charge for installation, so we will provision the fiber, bring it into your facility, do all the necessary work, directional boring, the conduit placement, bring the fiber into your facility, we'll place our equipment, all you need to do is provide basically a rack for us to install that equipment, but there is no installation charge, so no one-time charge.
Okay, also, software updates, since you're going to be doing the modems and things like that. You're going to provide modems for us, correct?
We provide an Ethernet switch on the premise, and then our interface to the village is an Ethernet handoff that you would take into your equipment. But we maintain the Comcast equipment on the premise, so we take care of that during the life of the service. You don't have to worry about anything in that regard.
Okay, and my last question, I know Comcast, how much does it cost to, if we decide after 6 months we don't want the service anymore, will it be a disconnect charge?
Yes, there would. There is termination liabilities because we're investing a significant amount of capital to build this service out. So generally our termination liabilities are 50% of the remaining contractual obligation.
Also, okay, what type of,
So this is on a 60-month contract.
5 years?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Trustee Martin?
All right, one of the questions that I have here is, what about the other municipal buildings, the fire department, police department, parks and rec department, stuff like that? Would there be some, be put in those buildings as well?
You can definitely build your network out. That's something we discussed as kind of the next phase. We can provide a network connectivity to build a wide area network to connect those villages or village facilities together using our Ethernet technology. And that can be done either through our fiber optic service, or we can also do it through our coaxial product, but it's a different connection into the facility. The coax only allows up to 10 megabits of bandwidth. The fiber can go to 10 gig. So this is kind of the first step, and then ultimately building that network out to provide the services.
All right, so this proposal, these dollar amounts are for this building.
Yes, well, technically, the police department, that's where we move the service. We can bring it in either facility. The cost is the same.
Okay, so it's the police department that we're focusing on, not this building?
That's where I was told that we wanted to terminate the service, and because you have networking, your own private infrastructure that runs between the two, you can essentially use that infrastructure over there.
I think
Everything comes back to the police.
everything comes through the police department? Okay, John, the police department was here first, so everything was going in there. When they built that building, I think they just kind of filtered it over there. Any other questions? Trustee Myers, you think that's right now?
We still can build out from that one, right? We still can build out from the PD over to our station is building.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Using our network, using Comcast facilities, absolutely.
Trustee Griggs?
How soon you guys do what's the process basically?
So the installation, normally we quote 120 day installation, but knowing the construction that's involved here is quite limited because we actually have fiber that runs down Prince Avenue here. We service the school district here locally. I would estimate that our build will probably be as short as 45 days from the beginning to end. So from contract signature, installation, and service. It will be cognizant of whatever schedule the village desires. So if they want that soon, we will certainly do it. And if the village wants it, at some later date, we can do it. So we will schedule it install.
I just have equipment, phones themselves. Do you provide those? Do we change them out at Comcast, or do we keep the same phones that we have?
Yes, you would keep the same phone system you have. This is for internet services only. Comcast does offer alternative voice solutions, but we're not really talking about those. given the fact that your current phone systems are relatively new phone system, to me, it would make sense to be thinking about replacing that currently. However, your current provider, Call One, you have a voice service that basically provides the public switch telephone network interface, so that dial tone into your current system. When that contract cycles for that, it's called a PRI, primary rate interface. When that contract is up and you can get out of that without paying a large termination charge, I think it would make sense then for the village to convert that service over to Comcast. We can deliver that voice service across our fiber optic network.
Chose not to do a proposal on that at this point, because there was still a failure that the contractual period here existed.
We would save you some money over your current provider, but it's not a substantial amount. In my opinion, it would make sense for the village to change that service just because your termination liability would be so large.
Now, this being internet service, I do know a lot of internet services offer virus protection, things like that. Does that come included, or is that also a add-on?
That is not included. This is just basically the bandwidth. This is the big pipe out to the end. So the village, I would believe that the village currently has those security appliances and devices, so you continue to support those devices and so on.
How about downtime when switching over?
You would probably have minimal downtime, meaning probably measured in under an hour, if that. We would not touch your existing internet service, which you have from Comcast. Basically, once your new service is up and we have that service provision, when you change basically switch the connection over from your existing into ours, into your new connection, that would almost be, virtually seamless. There's not going to be hardly any downtime, and that can be scheduled for after hours, so it's not impacting to the village or residents.
The reason I'm asking is the police department, they're 24/7. So it would affect them when they're doing, pulling someone over, running leads and things like that.
Right. So we can do that at the most convenient time for the police department. And again, it's going to be a very, very short period of time. It could be just literally a couple of minutes. Just somebody had to make a configuration change in the equipment.
This would provide internet service for all three of these buildings here. The community center currently does not have internet service, so this is add to it.
I know it will provide service for the police department and the village hall because they are, in a sense, connected together. They act as kind of like one common facility from a networking architecture. I don't know if there's any connectivity to the senior center from either of these buildings. If there is, then you can easily extend the internet connection out to the senior center. Community center, excuse me.
Can we have the Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi?
Well, so if you have a Wi-Fi infrastructure in that building, then you can utilize this connection to provide internet across that Wi-Fi. You can also then make wireless devices that you can basically extend the signal to another building via a wireless service. But that's equipment that you would buy and operate, but it's pretty simple to do that. Your technology, your IT support goes simple.
You did mention Wi-Fi. How much of Wi-Fi support this building? I mean, would it be a high cost to get a Wi-Fi more than here?
Yeah,
There is one. Would it be that much to put it into the community center?
How far is it?
It's right across the circle.
Should be able to.
Yeah, again, it's how do you want to do that? If you want to use this internet service to provide internet connectivity for that building, then the Wi-Fi infrastructure is a piece that the village owns and you don't provide that. If you just want us to put another internet connection into the facility, we'll probably get that done. It would just be a small additional number, increase the cost.
So you know if there's a conduit between this building and the community center?
I'm not sure. That's probably the best one to answer that question.
That is a good question.
All right, any other questions? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. All right, number 3, resolution of the Village of Sauk Village authorizing the adoption of the county multi-jurisdictional hazardous mitigation plan. I think these next two are here. We got that one, we got the authorizing the awesome.
What we've got in front of us is as mitigation plan, and what this is for is to.
Can't hear you, Art.
I'm speaking into the mic, so I don't know how much.
Mike's not on.
So I can speak. This is, if we have a disaster in town, so we need this in place to be eligible for grant money. If there are plans out there to prevent with the done in the towns where flooded areas, where they've purchased houses and pulled the houses down and they have parks and stuff, there's funding for that. If we have that, that's the main objective is to make sure that we're eligible for grant money and funding. Yeah, there's 2 volumes. Volume 1 is what they did is everything that they processed to develop each person's annex, how they went about it, and it's probably 600 or 700 pages long. So we have that in front of us. What we do need is to adopt our annex, pages long, some maps, and we're through this and with Sherry, we followed through some of the different things that we required that we followed through for a couple of pages. Different formulas and guidelines that we have in place, or if we don't have them in place, if they're not covered under the local ordinance, they're covered by the Cook County, and we've done that. So we went through all that. I attended several meetings. This is they had maps. The whole Cook County area is drawn out where the floodplains are at. And that's the main reason why we're preparing this is floodplains. It also involves earthquakes, tornadoes, severe weather, severe winter weather, droughts, or anything that's on their dams, but we don't have any dams about it. We've nothing specific in here that we have to accomplish. It's in general, this is a 5-year plan, objectives that you read into. This is page 96-8. We listed 9 action plans. Okay, and this is how to accomplish them. We prioritize them. Being involved. It's the only specific thing is, as I mentioned right here, is which what we're working on now is to repair updating our water infrastructure. That's number 9. It's all in general, so we're not tied down to any specific project. That's just, it gives you opportunities to, if there's something out there that we want to try and do, that's just to go along with grant money, accomplish that. count 115 communities in Cook County that are involved in this. It's the largest active beautification plan in the United States. Cook County is third largest in population in the United States. There's three towns or 3 cities, Chicago, Des Moines, Roselle, have their own plans, so they're partners in this, or they're stakeholders in this, but they're not partners, so there's 115 other communities that were involved in this. So this is what we need to do to make sure that we're set if we have any problems down the line. Anytime we come up with a project that we think that will create savings, whether it's towards the village or towards our residents. If they're having flooding problems, is the word you're saying is the word this is to purchase the house and level it, make it park. This is if you have repetitive flooding locations where it's costing you thousands of dollars to do your repairs every year, this is going to be a problem. So that's what we have to do.
Well, first of all, thank you, Art, for attending all the meetings and sitting down and putting all this together. There was a lot of work, and there was a lot of brainstorming and meetings and stuff that you attended, so we appreciate all the work you've done. As for the trustees, do you have any questions for Art?
Yes, sir. I just want to say thank you also, but I see a lot of the sources of funding through general fund and through loans. Is this after we commit to this, or is this on a basis of need to have? In other words, you did mention about the flooding and things like that, and I saw where the, you keep saying estimated cost, low or high or medium. Once we commit to this, will we have to have this, and will we have to be involved, will we have to pay for this?
It depends on your project. There's nothing specific. The only specific on this page is number 9, which is we're in the process of now. This is through the state of the air strippers. It's just the continued support, countywide actions. So that could be anything in general that they're working on. And once we've committed or looked into a project, we need to determine this is where the funds are going to come from before we jump into it.
So we don't, once we commit to this, we don't have to do, okay. Because that's what I was looking to make sure that we're not beholden to, because some of the things that I was looking at as far as flooding, they did say FEMA, which you all know that you can do that through your home. But then there's also another flooding there that it said general fund. I just wanted to see if, but it's done case by case basis, I assume.
This is where it talks about where the source of funding could come from. So when you look at, it could come from FEMA, it could come from grants, it could come from general fund, things like that. So again, when you're sitting down and they're putting this together, they're looking at, okay, they could have flooding. If we did have flooding, where could we get sources of revenue and funding to resolve the issue? So again, that's what they're sitting down.
Okay, so I didn't see where it could, it's just our sources of funding.
And again, if you had something like this, what's the timeline? Is it a long-term issue, short-term issue? I think a lot of them are long-term, short-term.
The only specific item was the air strippers. I knew that was alone at the time this was a new equipment. I knew that was alone. Everything else could be any one of the different ways to fund this. The general fund, which normal most all our stuff comes from general fund, loans, or grants.
Because the one thing you did mention, and I appreciate that, was when the homes are no longer to be repaired, what we can do about, getting rid of those homes, knocking them down. I'm sure there's grant money for that.
attendance of communities that have received hundreds of thousands of dollars to the state of Illinois to take over a house. There were several houses in an area that's prone to flooding. Okay, and no, it's mostly just prone to flooding, and this is they purchased the property, make it a park. So this is you don't continue to this is the homeowners. This is this is outrageous. Homeowner insurance is in they go from there.
I know for a fact, 7, 8 years back, when Sauk Creek floods were Stager, they was not part of the program, and all those lovely homes along the creek bed, a lot of them received severe damage, and there's nothing, the people that paid thousands and thousands of dollars out, they were, the town was not part of it. Now, I also know maybe that you might remember, there was a flood here in town 1990 some years back. It was earlier. This creek behind us backed up and flooded, and we lost a lot of land. The only business that did the damage at that time was the grocery store, the old hardware store back from there. That we had a plan on board now, and county had come in the flood that helped us. So I highly recommend that we definitely go with the county with it. All we have to do is really sign on board with that.
Yes. We're not committed to anything, but this is in order to be able to be eligible, we have to have this in a resolution. We've got until actually doing this early, so we get this out of the way. We've got until September of this year to put this in place. And this we get it out of the way so we don't forget.
We can pass a resolution, then can get amended also later.
What about the communities of already passed?
Yeah, they're working on this, and like I said, we were earlier, for example, last year, or whatever, we come out with some, a lot of stuff on a couple of agendas, we don't know from the ones and holidays.
So does anyone have a problem with these resolutions being on the agenda next week and the consent agenda? Okay, so from our consent agenda, we then discuss them.
Just so you were to, this is a 5-year plan, so in 4 years, we'll be going through the same process again, and if there's other objectives, or if there's actually things out there that we need to be trying to accomplish in that next batch of 5 years, that's, we have to put that in our plan.
Thanks, Leonard. All right, and number 4, a resolution of the Illinois Village, Sauk Village, and Cook and Will counties authorizing and improving the governmental obligations. This is for our lighting, might seem like test. But we all know that we approved the new lights to go out throughout the village. And this is just wrapping up the last resolution. This is approving the authorization, approving the government obligations and grants, money that we're getting to be spent for this project. Any questions? I skipped it right. I'm just working off memory. Everyone's had the resolution in their box. Anyone have any questions on this one? If not, it's all right to have this under consent agenda. All right, so consent agenda, item number 4. Number 5, cost savings initiatives.
Yes. All right. Yes, Mr. Mayor. I know you brought this up many times and about the cost savings initiative, but now that and I'm sure everyone has a copy of the latest revenue and comparison as of December 31st. And I know that you said that we are right on point, but I think there's some things that we need to really address right now. And I'm not going to, I put something out there already and everyone had a chance to look that over. But right now, I still feel that we have to do something. Now, you put into your meetings you put into your recommendations that we cut 11 meetings. And I just wanted to know, was that one of your cost-saving initiatives?
In cutting 11 meetings, if you look at the way they were cut, they were around election times, holidays, things like that. So I guess just looking at which meetings need to be held. And again, it was, if you look at, IML puts out a thing every month on what we have to put out as a village. One of the things we do have to put out as a village at the end of the year, which was December, is a meeting schedule for the following year. So it's a lot easier saying, okay, we're going to need meetings here, here, and here, you know for sure. So we put together an agenda, meeting schedule for next year. If you want to say cost savings, in a way, if you look at it, it's not really going to save the village a lot. What we did is when you put your budget together, you say, okay, you're going to have so many meetings a year. And that's based off of 4 meetings a month, 5th meeting for committees. But we know there's other things that happen throughout the year. There's other special meetings. We know that we had a special hearing a couple weeks ago, something that wasn't budgeted for. We know that we're going to have budget hearing meetings coming up, which aren't really budgeted for. So when you say you look at 11 meetings less this next year, I would say probably those 11 meetings probably pretty closely filled with other special meetings, things that we have to have. We know that we're working really hard on bringing businesses to Sauk Village, and there could potentially be some special meetings coming up for some special projects that we're hoping come through. So when you talk about the 11 meetings, if you look at, you had meetings in January, which are on the first of the year. You look in April, we got elections going on. In November, we've got Thanksgiving. In December, we've got Christmas. So when you look at where those meetings are spaced at, and we're not having meetings, again, it falls in usually where you're not going to have a lot of things happening. People are also on vacation or having their holidays. They're not coming out to any presentations.
Okay, well, the reason why I'm asking, if it is a cost savings initiative, as far as not scheduling the meeting, only cost savings, the only person that it would affect would be just the trustees. It wouldn't affect yourself or the clerk because you guys get the salary. So basically what you're saying is you would augment the meetings, or the meetings wouldn't happen on your hope at this night, and it's going to be around this period of time. We don't know what's going to happen. I would like to see it done instead of cutting it like that at the beginning of the year. Cut the meetings. First of all, this is just my recommendation. Cut the meeting as need be. If we don't have anything that particular week of that month, okay, fine. But to go and cut, and then we have to go back and add another meeting because we had this, we got to put a special report out because we had that, and that's not a regular meeting. That is cost effective, and it will charge money because then now the clerk has to put out a special notice, just notify everybody. But if we have meetings and then we don't have them, then we can just put that out there. That's just one thing.
Well, first of all, let's talk about special meetings. I can assure you that, if I call for a special meeting, it's going to be something that has to be discussed prior to the regular board meeting, just like Robert's Rule of Order states. So a special meeting is something that has to be discussed. It cannot wait to your regular board meeting. So when we look at special meetings, that's what they're for. So again, when you look at meetings, and again, the mayor puts out the meetings, we look very closely at some of this trying to look at when we think we're not going to do meetings, or when again, around the holidays, things like that, when people are not going to be coming out for presentations, things like that, because they're gone. The other thing too is one of the complaints we heard last year was from the residents saying, there's supposed to be a meeting here and we canceled the meeting. So now there's a schedule put out. And again, we will look at and timely try to schedule special meetings on regular board meeting nights and committee meeting nights. I can tell you that next week there's going to be 2 special meetings, but it will be on a committee meeting night. So when you look at stuff like that, again, it's only 11 meetings out of 52 meetings a year.
Now you said we. Who's we? Who did you discuss it with as far as?
No, I'm from the mayor.
Oh, okay. You said we looked at it.
Okay.
Okay. Because the reason what I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, you've been trustee for years and years, and you know yourself we've had meetings. We tried to ask that we have 2 a month. That was voted down by the board at the time when you were trustee. And now, I just wanted to know what, and now you did answer that question, what was the reason that you did cancel these particular meetings, and you felt that. So if that's the case, then why don't we do it across the board? Why don't we have since we're going to save money from all the trustees, if you want to cancel 11 meetings, then it should be prorated to all the elected officials for 11 meetings cancellation. That would be my first question.
Well, first of all, you know how the ordinance works. You know how.
That you're still changing it.
No, because the ordinance says you're paid up to.
We paid per meeting.
You're paid per meeting.
But now, if this is a cost savings initiative, then it should be a cost savings initiative across the board. It should be everyone, not just the trustees are contributing to a cost savings initiative, which I have no problem. I can go to the 1 month, we find with me, we get everything in. But to the way it looks, it's not the way it looks, the way it is, that all the trustees that are not at that meeting, it would affect them, and it wouldn't affect yourself or the clerk. But since we're all in this together, I think that we all should, contribute together.
Well, first of all, let's look at the trustees. 52 meetings a year, plus you've got your own meetings, okay? You get paid by the meeting. And you talk about the mayor and the village clerk that we have a salary. Okay, we do have a small salary. But when we're here working 5 days a week, some days 6 and 7 days a week, working for the village. And again, just because I'm not here on a Tuesday night not having a meeting, doesn't mean that I'm not sitting back having meetings with residents or answering calls or working on things for the village. So, again, the ordinance states you get revenue. Again, you understand, I would hope so, you've been a trustee for quite a long time, that, when it comes to changing salaries of the village clerk and the mayor, it's by ordinance, but the change cannot be made to the functions of the introduction. So, I didn't pass state statute. That's just state statute.
Mayor, I'm not, you're looking at one thing, I'm looking at another. I'm not trying to augment or change anybody's pay. Only thing I'm asking is, because there's trustees that work 75 days a week, there's trustees that are out here that go to the neighborhoods, there's trustees that talk to people, not just their committees. They get out there and they go back and forth. Some of them go to the businesses, some of them go to school districts, and they represent. They're gathering information around with the residents. They're not asking for that pay. We all work. That's the reason why we got involved as an elected official, so we could represent the people and talk to them. You get stopped in the stores, you know that yourself, and they ask you 100 questions. We're not trying to charge for that. This is something that we all asked when we all got elected, that we would represent the people 24/7, irregardless to what it costs. The price is the price of how much it is. You accepted that when you became a trustee or clerk or a mayor. You know what it was. Only thing I'm asking is, since you changed the meetings, it would change what the trustees are giving back, but it wouldn't change anything else with anyone else. And I'm just asking to keep it level across the board. Can we do that? I mean, it's a matter. It's not a matter. It's not a matter of ordinance, man. It's not a matter of what I'm saying. Give back.
It's a matter of state.
You can give back what you want.
It's a matter of state statute.
You can give back what you want, Mayor. You don't have to. I'm not asking you to permanently give your salary back or permanently take out X amount of money. Only thing I'm asking is for a prorated portion per meeting, along with, you know, whatever meeting that we don't have, that prorated portion would go back, that you would contribute that back to the village. That's all I'm asking. That's just the first question.
Well, again, number one, your question doesn't make sense, I'll be honest with you.
How does it make sense?
Number two.
How doesn't it make sense?
Number two,
But no, let's go back to don't make sense. How doesn't it make sense?
I think as mayor, number one, you don't understand what a mayor does. This last Wednesday, I was down in Springfield for the entire day. I took a personal vacation day from work, my personal vacation day, to go represent the village residents in Springfield the entire day. Drove my vehicle there, drove my vehicle. So,
But how can you tell me I don't know how it is? I've been here for a minute.
It's your mic.
I know what goes.
I can't tell me how I've been here for a while. You've been here the longest as far as trustee, but yes, we all give up, Mayor. We all do the things that we all take our time, our personal time to do this. I'm not asking, I'm not even going there. I'm not saying, me myself, I'm not here for the money, because the money that we get for these meetings is minute. I could be doing something else, but I want to represent the people. That's why I wanted to be elected, to represent. I'm not going to sit there and give my itinerary, what I did for everybody. If I did it, it'll come out. You'll see it. I don't have to sit here and talk about it. All I'm asking is for you, if you're going to do this, why don't you prorate your salary on an individual basis back to what you're doing with the trustees? That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to augment your salary. Yes, it is state statute. Yes, it is by ordinance that you cannot change your salary during that year that you're involved. I understand that. So to say I don't understand, please don't say that, Mayor, because that's not true. I know what it is to be mayor. I've been around, I see what goes on. I do know what you have to sacrifice. That's why you said I wanted to be mayor. You wanted to be mayor to sacrifice, to be for the people. Not to sit here and tell them what you've done from point A to point Z. Only thing I'm asking is, can we do that part? That's just one of my questions as far as cost savings. I do have some more about cost saving initiatives, but I was just asking that question. I wasn't telling you that you have to do that, and I'm not trying to, figure out what it is that you do. I'm not saying that you don't sacrifice. I did not say that you don't take time off, that you don't call in, that you have to use sick time or vacation. I didn't say that. I'm asking, will you volunteer to give back X amount, in your salary back to the village when we don't have these meetings and are prorated at a prorated price? That's all I'm asking. You have some more things that are here, but go ahead.
I kind of wanted to know when we anticipate having a meeting to kind of discuss the items that were discussed on the 30th. I know that everybody should have gotten an email regarding kind of like a summary of what happened on the 30th when we had the special meeting. One of the items that we talked about was the lack of meetings for 5 weeks. And I'm the one that kind of, as I said at the meeting, I'm the one that kind of asked for the meeting. And part of it was to discuss kind of the thought behind really short meetings. And you expressed why the 11 meetings you talked about, why they were deleted. You just kind of stated that. And my biggest thing was kind of, I thought that conversation should have happened as a board. How it's happening now. Kind of, this is why I chose those 11 meetings. We're around election time, we're around holiday time, so as a board, we're involved in that decision, and we can make the conscious effort to say, okay, yes, we agree with that, no, we disagree with that, or how about not this Tuesday, but this Tuesday might work better, or however it would work out. I think that these decisions kind of need to be made more on the board. this is just like unilateral decided. But going on that, I'm wondering if there's a time or in the schedule that you and the clerk kind of go together and do a meeting. Has there been some time set aside to discuss some of the items that were discussed on the 30th?
Every Tuesday night, our committee meetings, twice a month. Plus things initially.
Oh, so this is the time, okay, I didn't know if we were gonna have like a different meeting, because I didn't know if this conversation, I was kind of going back and
In
forth.
fact, you can do it over a couple months if you want. I mean, if you want to say, oh, you have a few questions I want to ask, you can cover them. So again, cost savings initiatives are handled on committee meeting nights, and we've been on the committee meeting nights for the last over 6 months. So, I got no problem with it. And again, we want to go back to meetings. Okay, we cut 11 meetings out of the year. Let's look at how many meetings are actually being held. Okay, next year, 41 meetings. That's including committee meetings and board meetings. Your committees, and I'm only doing 5 trustees right now. That's an additional 20 meetings throughout the year supposed to be held. 5 meetings, hang on, I might be wrong here. It's 5 meetings per month, so it may be more than that. 60 more meetings next year that residents can come to trustees meetings throughout the year. And you have 2 committees. So I could add another 12 to that. That's 72 more meetings throughout the year. That's a total of 72 meetings throughout the year that residents can come to committee meetings. Meet the mayor, which we started this year. That's 12 more meetings that residents can come out on a Saturday. They can't come on a Tuesday night. They can't come throughout the week. They come on Saturday morning throughout the year. So you look at the amount of meetings this next year that we're scheduled to have, and it's, well, probably close to 100, if not more, meetings this next year that we're having based off trustee meetings, based off committee meetings, based off mayor's meetings, based off of regular board meetings for the residents.
I think that the other, like you said, like 60 committee meetings plus the meet the mayor, and I don't know how the meet the mayor or the town hall meetings are structured. I'm not sure what the agenda for that would be, but I know just speaking like for me, for my 2 committees, we don't discuss village business that we will discuss here. It's very committee centered. So that was my concern, that, especially with the 5-week gap, but then in general, to not have that process. And that was my question, is this kind of the direction that we're going in? Or is this was just like kind of a decision that was made? And if that's the direction, I think that communication among the board and communication with the trustees as well, because as you stated before, we had residents that say, oh, there was supposed to be a meeting, what happened? And I agree, putting out the schedule is going to help people. It's on the internet, it's on the website, it's posted. That's going to help people kind of plan to know when there's going to be a meeting, not when there's going to be a meeting. But I think that, again, additional communication, putting it in Sauk the e-blast, announcing it at board meetings. There needs to be communication between everybody so that we're all on the same page. That's my biggest thing. Cost savings, okay, if it's cost savings, to me, that's just a bonus. And I understand, the fact that it's affecting the trustees and not the clerk and the mayor, and I'm a little confused as to how the proration, Trustee Burgess was talking about how that could happen, like a volunteer basis, I would assume, but the ordinance says one thing and we can't change it. My understanding is so the next election of the mayor and the clerk, which is for 2 more years. So that part, I don't know what was on because I don't understand that part, but going forward is my question, because, the clerk and the mayor, they don't get paid for special meetings. If we have 5 meetings and we have 4 meetings a month and a committee meeting, the trustees are getting paid for 5 meetings. If something happens like that hearing, that would be a 6th meeting, it doesn't matter, they don't get paid for that. Whether we have 0 meetings or 40 meetings, the village clerk and the mayor don't get paid for that. So it's that prorated, that's kind of what the salary is. So I'm not entirely focused on that. My focus is on communication. And it's going to be a systematic change, whereas, being a trustee for, I guess, almost 10 years now, there's 4 meetings, meeting every Tuesday except for the 5th Tuesday. There's a committee meeting. This is kind of the process. This is kind of the structure that I'm familiar with, that the residents are familiar with, that people who want to do presentations, people who want to ask questions, they know what meetings they can, what meetings they can't. To kind of change the system was where my concern was. And if that's going to be the norm, the new normal, I'm not fighting that. I just want it to be discussed and expressed so that everybody's on the same page. That was my concern. And I think that talking about it like this, you look at, you genuinely schedule, you pick this date for this reason, this date for this reason. It makes more sense than just going and saying, this is what I decided for here. That was what my concern was, and I think that now that we kind of expressed that the only other thing I had a question about that is we talked about budget meetings at that meeting, and I kind of wanted to know if we had started to think about when those would happen.
Let's go back to some of these. First of all, communication. And I'll say this, everyone's here. Communication is extreme. And number one, a schedule was put out for next year's budget. For next year's meeting schedule. And trustees can call for the special meeting and you can talk to them. So, I communicated through a memo, but it seemed like the trustees that called for the meeting in the last meeting in December, their communication was meet me inside this room here. There was no communication back about it, number one. Number two, everyone talks about we had meetings for 5 weeks. Let's go back and look at your schedule. Month of December, we missed the last 2 meetings of December. The trustees called for a special meeting on the 5th Tuesday. And then the first meeting in January, I think it was, we have a hearing. And then we had a meeting on the January 13th, whatever it was. So there was supposed to be no 5th Tuesday, and the trustees called for it. So what you ended up having was 2 meetings in December, which fell right back Christmas time. Then the trustees called for a meeting on 5th Tuesday. First Tuesday in January, we had a meeting. Second Tuesday in January, we had a meeting. So everyone wants to talk about 5th Tuesday, 5 meetings in a row. So I just need to make sure we clear that up. And again, December had 5 Tuesdays. So there was supposed to be no meeting on the 5th Tuesday anyway, okay? Let's talk about budget hearings. If you go back to your agenda or to your minutes, you'll see that I've been talking about budget since November, and I brought it up in the meetings. If you notice, I was the one that made copies of us and put this in everyone's box, so that everyone had it, so that you could start preparing. We talked about going in probably in February. We would start going over this and start meeting. Mohan waiting for him to come back from vacation, so we can start putting stuff together. All the department heads had this in their box. So they can start looking at where they're at when it comes to their line items. I sent a thing out to the departments that we need to start being a little more prudent on what we spend. We need to make sure that we're careful, and if we don't need to spend something, and again, we've got great departments. They know that they don't have to be told. And they do a great job trying not to spend, and they look at what needs to be spent. They have a car breakdown, they need a car fixed. So there's things that have to, they're not out there making any wild purchases. So when you look at the budget as is, general fund, 67% of the way through. We're at what, 64, 65% of estimated projected spending. We're 2% less than we projected. Are we high in certain items? Yes, we are. We're high in payroll. We know that. We know that because in the police department, we had problems with the extra investigations that went on. We know that there's other things. In the public works department, the board approved overtime in the public works department to work on street lights and fire hydrants, and they're working on the weekends. So some of the stuff that we're over on, again, we're over on certain line items, and I said it the other day, it's seeing, I always get the same mixed up, it's either seeing the trees through the forest or seeing the forest through the trees. You have a budget right now that's right where we should be, but inside that budget there's line items that might be over. Again, those are things that we're going to look at this next year. You look at the police department. We know we're over on the dispatch center. We had a records clerk that passed away. We've got dispatchers that are sick, that are off. So we know that we've got people working overtime in those positions. You know, we just got done hiring, was it 3 or 4 part-time dispatchers to come in and start filling those positions, looking at part-time for those positions, so. Yeah. Yeah, and I came to the board. I think, well, 3 of them started today. Yeah. Yeah, he did.
No, he said they were going tonight, he said he was actually interviewing.
Yeah, we put 3 on today, I think 1 starts next week.
I'm just saying, I know that Jim came and said that he wanted to hire kids rotation, but I don't think he actually hired.
Yep. So, and I thought they emailed out to everyone, I'll double check, but I didn't. If it does, to make sure it goes out to everyone. Because he did send an email for an update.
It was either an email or a text that he was going to put 2 people on at the beginning of this.
And it ended up being 3.
I wasn't sure.
So, again, looking at trying to reduce overtime. We know that we received a grant for a police officer. Now, we know the new governor came in office and put a freeze to all money as of right now. That's one of the things that I was down in Springfield, meeting with our state representatives, meeting with our lobbyists, finding out what's going on. I'm told not to worry about it because, you know, you got a new governor coming in. Some of the things he's doing he can't do. He's getting ready to get hit with lawsuits from the Senate and from the House. So, because I guess some of his executive powers he doesn't have, that he's coming in office and he's pushing through. The other thing too is he's looking at, he figures a lot of our grants we got this last year were federal grants. No, he's stopping even the federal grants from coming through because the federal grants were funded through the state and down to the state. So, you know, I'm told that Springfield will slow down for a little bit until they start getting things worked out. The other thing too is you have to remember, just like this board, I can come in and say we're not going to do something, but if the board approved it, all it's going to do is slow down a little bit. And the same thing happened in Springfield. Springfield went to the House, went through the Senate, everything's been approved. And the new governor came in and said, we're not going to do it. So, again, I think there's going to be a little bit of a power struggle there for a little bit. I think I'm already told that some of the things that he's doing is definitely going to slow things down, and that's what he wanted to do. He talked about when he was going to come in, he was going to shake things up, and he was going to, you know, slow things down. He did. You know, the new governor came in and let go heads of agencies, but not just the head of agencies and these important agencies. He took them out at 2, 3, and 4 levels deep. So some of these agencies are sitting there right now wondering what do we do, and the people that are still there have no idea what the head is doing. So when I was down there on Wednesday, they even talked about some of the things that the governor has already put through, he's already reversed. So again, there's a learning process there. I think the governor's got good intentions, I really do. Again, he's coming from a corporate background, leader in corporate. You know, corporate thinking is not the same as government thinking. What can we say? We saw that under the last administration, where people came in with a corporate line thinking and saying it should be done this way, when really you have state statutes and you have different, we have to look at things differently. So, budgets, again, you have the 67% of the budget here. You have it. Now, I'm telling you right now in front of everyone, I'm looking for you to start going through those and get prepared for the budget hearings. I'm going to go to my department heads, or to our department heads, and say, you know, what can we do different this next year? You know, and I'll be honest with you, the budget we have this year, it's bare bones. You know, everyone can talk about our cuts, but we put together a bare bones budget. And if I had one of those department heads sitting there, I got Art sitting right there. I don't think Art can say, oh, I got a ton of money sitting there. He's sitting there asking for more. And every department is the same. So we did it this last year with hardly anything. And you know what? They're doing a good job at it too, for what they were given to run by. They're doing a fantastic job.
I don't think anybody is denying that fact. I mean, I think we've all kind of stood behind our department heads and said that. And when the budget went through, it was, I think we can all agree that there were some bare bones. I don't know how they were able to run the department so far. I honestly don't. I know we're above on some line items, and maybe below on others, but I think that it amazes me how well we do But I think that to go back to what you were saying about the 5 meetings of communication, I emailed you and explained this is why. I explained in the email, and anybody who, and I said that night, I was never a proponent for a meeting before the meeting or meetings of individuals. I think like sometimes we have to do that. You know, 2 trustees with the mayor to discuss something, 2 trustees with an attorney to discuss something. You know, I'm not even a big fan of that, but I understand sometimes we have to do that. In a situation like this, where there's a systematic change, I think it's something that needed to come before the board. That was my concern.
But
That's why.
you bring up a good point, though, but again, there has to be communication, not everything can be handled out on the floor. If you have a question, you need to go on and face the person face to face. I mean, I look at municipal government as no different than your federal government and then your state level. I mean, you've got meetings going on in Springfield constantly with the governor and the heads of the Senate and the heads of the House, because they're asking questions. You got the same thing going on in Washington. How many times do you see in the Oval Office the president sitting there or one of the offices with all these state representatives and senators sitting around them talking? Because they're asking questions. There has to be communication.
Right.
And if you have a question, you have to ask. And you know what? Then if you're not going to agree all the time. I'm not going to agree with you. You're not going to agree with me. I'm not going to agree with the trustee board. You said they're looking at me. But you know what? You have to be able to ask questions. And that's the only reason I say communication is a 2-way street.
Absolutely, which is why the email, which is why I said the president has his cabinet members there. Right. The president needs his cabinet members there to discuss systematic changes. That is why I said that the meeting needed to happen. I didn't know, hey, nobody else agreed with me. I'm going to voice my opinion. This is what I think, and this is why the meeting was held. The 5 meetings, you go to 5 meetings. Yeah, we didn't have a meeting scheduled for the last 2. The 5th Tuesday, we never have a meeting anyway. That was the day we chose. When the email went out, there wasn't a meeting scheduled for the last 2. There also wasn't a meeting scheduled for the first 2. Then we had the hearing. Then the 13th, before we even had the special meeting, there was an email that was put out that we're having a meeting on the 13th.
Before the end of the year.
Before the end
Because it has to be before the end of the year.
Right. Before the end of the year, it was stated that we were going to have a meeting on the 13th now. But when the email went out, when the process started rolling, when the special meeting went out, it was 5 weeks. And now, the 5th Tuesday is not a meeting week, we all know that, but there was going to be 5 weeks from the time we had a board meeting till the time we had another board meeting, where there was going to be no communication between the board and the village or anything like that. That was my concern. And in the email, and as I stated at the board meeting, I wanted to know if this is going to be a kind of a one-off, this is how it happened right now, or if there was going to be systematic changes. And if there's going to be systematic changes, I think that puts different roles and responsibilities on everybody. If we know that we're not going to have 4 meetings in a week, then certain things need to be condensed, certain things need to be rearranged, 4 meetings a month, I'm sorry. Certain things need to be rearranged and condensed. That was my question. That was my concern. How the meetings got picked, was it, let's throw a calendar on the wall and go dark and whatever it is. I knew that wasn't your process, but just kind of, how was it? Did they pick out of my hat? What happened? That's why I wanted to discuss it as a roundtable, so that we all feel as trustees that we had an input, that we all are aware it was a decision that we made as a board, not a decision that any one person made, whether it's mayor or a trustee. That was my concern. You've explained that. I understand more why it was presented that way. And we all know that there are special meetings and whatever. Fine. That's not my biggest thing. But I just think going forward, it's just my opinion, I'm not speaking for anybody else, going forward, anything that's going to systematically change, I think it should be discussed here.
Let's move to one of the things that you brought to my mind and thought was liaisons. 2 years ago, we put trustees as liaisons over the departments. Some trustees are doing it, some trustees are not. And I'm hearing that there might be maybe trustees don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, again, another thing that concerns me, because almost 2 years ago, based off what the board asked for, I appointed liaisons. Now, I know, Ed's at the fire department all the time talking to the chief. So, So he knows what's going on, and he has no problems coming to me and saying the fire chief needs this. Okay, that's what you're there for. The liaison is something that you're meeting with that department, and you should be meeting with them weekly, monthly, if not. You should be meeting with those department heads and finding out what's going on. Is there anything that needs to be bringing back to the mayor, to the board? You know, believe me, I know a lot of their complaints are. But as liaison, you should know what's going on also. So that when someone goes off and asks a question, if Momon's not here, Derek should be able to answer it, or at least come close to it. If someone asks something about the fire department, Ed should be able to say, that's right, you know what, we know about that. Or if someone asks something about the police department, I go right down the line, liaisons. That's what you were there for, to be able to bring information back to this board and to work as that middle person between the department head and the board. And I'm being told almost 2 years later that the board doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. Now the question is that my fault, or is that the trustees' fault for accepting a position as liaison and not knowing exactly what they're supposed to be doing? Whose fault is it?
I think what was asked was for guidelines, because yes, you did a point, you had this department, you had this department, you had this department. And I'm sure that the department heads know that, and I think that we can all state that there are some department heads that are easier to work with than others. And I think that there are definitely some people who don't kind of let people in. And so when you have a department where it may be a little bit more difficult to get communication, where somebody such as yourself might not get as much communication as sometimes you would like. So to kind of have that structure, to kind of have that sit down, because you're 2 years later this is being brought up, and I totally understand your point.
But,
at no time
bring up
is
the
there.
point though, let's touch this for a minute. You know, 2 years ago when we did this, I sent memos out to the department heads and said, here's the trustees that are here, liaisons. Okay, so the department heads know who they are. But you bring up a good point that if you've got police department, okay, and I'm going to use police department for example. I'm not saying this is actual, but if you're having a problem with your department head, who is Tim, okay, you as the liaison should be coming to the mayor and saying, I'm trying to get this information from this department head. They refuse to give me this information. And I'll be honest with you, if you come to me, I will go with you right across the street and ask, why is the trustee not getting this information? You know, and I will go through every single department head. Now, there could be reasons for it. When we use police department, for example, there could be litigation, there could be something going on. And he's going to look at me and say, I can't give this information out because it's in court right now and this information is under a gag order or whatever. Again, you getting that information. You know, you've got stuff, right? You've got code enforcement, okay? You should have a good working relationship with Sherry and with the city, okay? Your department is sitting right there. So, again, if you're not getting the information from the department, that's part of communication needs to come back to me. And that's where I will step in and say, why? And I will actually, if I'm here, I will grab you by the arm and say, let's go. We'll take a walk across that parking lot. And I've done it before. I've had residents come in here and say they got problems. And I say, let's go take a walk across. I know he's in, I saw he's here today. You've been sitting here in the office when I walked over across it. I walked over in the rain the other day with a resident. And went straight, and I walked to the window and said, I'd like to see the chief. I said, Chief, this resident has a problem. Can we go back to your office and talk?
I know that we had, just taking from the police department, I know that you and I have sat down and said, we have talked about communication. Tim and I do, there is some definite communication barriers sometimes, and I do understand that part of that because of what he can discuss and what he can't discuss, but I think that from talking with him, and I know that you've probably spoken with him too about communication, I feel like we are getting more, just from speaking from the police department side, we are getting more communication from him via text message, via phone calls. So, I think that it has improved. But I know that it is a concern that some people, other people have brought up too. I think that maybe it needs to be revisited. Maybe there needs to be a sit down between the department head and the individual trustee with the mayor and kind of go over goals. Kind of go over and budgetary related or not. Just kind of going over that. You know, we have cost savings initiatives on the agenda.
But let's do this over the next month and a half, okay? I'll send out on regular board meeting nights and see which department heads can be here a half an hour, 45 minutes before the meeting. And then let's sit down with the department head and liaison and myself, and let's go over some stuff. I think a half an hour, 45 minutes should be good. And let's do it over the next couple months. And we'll spread it out. And I think, again, this is communication. This is what I need to know. I need to know if you're not getting the information that you're asking for.
I think some people just, I don't know if it's just not ever how to present it or when to present it or what, but I think that's why I'm bringing it out now. That's why I'm saying it. I think you've got cost savings initiatives on here. I would like to see, if not every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, maybe even once a month, liaison updates. Well, after you have these kind of meet and greets with the liaison and the department head, where's the accountability factor after that? And have that every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever. I think that once people get more comfortable with the department heads, that ability, and they have that kind of, this is what, I don't want to say agenda, but like this is the things we're going to kind of hit. This is what, as a mayor, I'd like you guys to kind of be communicating. This is what, what's going on. What you would like to do, and then have a accountability factor of once a month kind of reporting. This is what we discussed this month. This is what we're looking to do here.
And let's do that during your trustees reports, once a month. You can pick if you want to do the second Tuesday, if you want to do the fourth Tuesday. And I would I'll leave it up to the trustees when you're going to report. So the report should be, your two committees, and I'm ending with a liaison report. I think it's a very good idea. And again, I think it shows, number one, the residents that you are and that you know what's going on. I think it's great. I like it. I don't know the other trustees, what they feel about it. I think it's great.
My personal opinion, I don't think that, we have it, it's in place. We never talk about it. It's never something that's really discussed. So we don't know who's doing it, we don't know, some of us are more vocal about it than others, but nobody knows kind of what's happening. And I think that if that's something that it was questioned before, and if that's something that we're going to continue with, then let's make it accountability, let's make it communication, all these things that I've been talking about, you've been talking about. Let's kind of make it open that this is what's happening.
They'll say no news is good news now. If I listen to the liaisons, I would say everything's fantastic. But I got the department that's pounding my door down. So I know there's problems, and then I look to the trustees and say, I know that, and I know he knows, because he's right there. When I was coming saying, I need this, I need that, and Trustee Myers is good at sending information through. So I keep on looking at you, but again, I think it's a fantastic idea. Again, I don't think it's something we really need to add to the agenda, but I think it's something that we should give either on our fourth or second Tuesday of the month. Here's your report.
That's all right.
He's got Veronica on my tongue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say a couple of things real quick. Number one, you talked about the special meeting that Trustee Williams called and that nobody communicated to you, that you had sent out an email asking us to communicate with you one-on-one about you wanted to have a special meeting. With all due respect, I did communicate with you. As soon as I got the email back, I emailed you back and said I could be with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. I didn't hear anything back. It's still in my phone as well, too. And also, I wanted to say, I thought that trustees have the discretion or the right to call a special meeting whenever 2 or 3 of them wanted to. And whether it had to be a dire emergency, 911, and if it wasn't, they could not have a meeting unless it was a special reason.
But let's go back. Trustees, 3 or more can call for a meeting. You're right. But when you look at special meeting is something that should be called that has urgency, something that of urgency that needs to be discussed, and cannot wait prior to your next regular board meeting.
Okay, so in lieu of that, when Trustee Williams called for a special meeting, at that time, on December the 13th, I had got an email saying that there would be no more village meetings until January the 20th. So I myself personally was one of the trustees that signed for the special meeting, because for me to wait 5 weeks, although clearly one of those weeks was a holiday, we would not be here anyway, was still too excessive to wait. Also, I put a newsletter from the neighborhood watching from myself, because we are a community that do attend the meetings. And I didn't want residents coming up here 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or it's a holiday, and they not know that. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and there are no meetings at all. To me, that was a long time, from December the 13th to January the 20th, not to have a meeting. Since I put that newsletter out, a hearing was called. I understand it was at the last meeting at the fire department with Trustee Myers, the gentleman that wanted the hearing. That was not known before I had put that newsletter out. Also, the meeting that was called for December the 13th, after I had put that newsletter out, was called after that newsletter went out. So I feel like, piggybacking off of what Trustee Williams said, as trustees engaging with the residents in the village, we are talking to them all the time. You know, the previous administration, they had cell phones. I remember coming to those meetings. At one point, they was asked to give their cell phones up. We don't have a village cell phone. We use our own personal cell phones. So the $125 that we get a week minus the taxes, $91, $87, to me is, for lack of a better word, it's embarrassing to keep talking about that as a cost-saving initiative. None of us are working for $125 a week. My cell phone bill is $179 a month. And I use my cell phone for neighborhood watch. I send out email blasts. I receive phone calls. Residents call me about deputy registers, and I can register somebody over here. I don't have a voucher or a gas card from the village. We're moving forward. Moving forward means we're doing something better than what has been. In the previous administration, they had a village hall manager. They had all kinds of things. And to me, if I didn't know we were moving forward, I may think we're moving backwards. I'm like, you know, I'm trying to work as hard as I can to pull people together and get people to come to meetings and let people know what they need to know, and businesses are closing. Is that our fault? No, but you want to talk about perception. You should hear the perception of the residents, what they think based on what they see. So I am constantly an advocate for come to the meetings, come and talk to the mayor, come and talk to the board. I'm ever reaching out and talking to people, opening up a door, to greet the mayor. I was out there when you had the first one, with the one you had on Carroll. I was out there knocking on doors, bringing residents outside to come and talk to you, pushing your agenda. I came to the town hall meetings that Trustee Burgess said. I told people about it. I passed out flyers about it. When I had the back to school book bag giveaway, I put your literature, and I asked Trustee Burgess about his literature to go in every 225 book bags to go into these homes in Sauk Village. So I think I deserve the courtesy of a phone call or to be included in a making decision. Like Trustee Williams said, if the system is going to change, communicate that to me too. Like people want me to go and work on other projects that's going on. But Parks and Recs, excuse me, Trustee Morton. When Parks and Recs had their parade, I took over 500 Arima paper flyers all up and down Carroll and Peterson and Brookwood and Candlelight and everywhere else passing out flyers. So we all work outside of the parameters of $125 a week. It's an insult that residents would think that we are trying to work for the money or do something to cost the village more money. We're constantly trying to have cost-saving initiatives. I have told you that I had a gentleman that wanted to come and bring a funeral home out here. Somebody wanted to come and bring a jumping gym, the inflatable things the kids jump up in, but it's the landlords, you know. We need to really explain and educate the residents to everything that's going on, because all I'm hearing is, oh, the trustees don't want to work, they don't want to give up their salary, they mad because they're not getting no money. I'm like, what money? What money are we getting? I really need to know. I get my son an allowance, my 3 grandsons. So don't think we're working for the money. We're working for the residents that put us in these seats. And the money that you pay us helps to defray some of those costs. Number 2, liaison. But, yeah, them too. I'm from down south, so I have a southern drawl. I abstain. Liaison for the, up front, Sherry. I talk to them all the time, her and Sheriff. They're just a committee of two. What more can they do? They need some more people to be out there writing tickets. I mean, they tell me what they need me to know. I talk to them, but I'm fine with being a liaison. I understand clearly what I'm supposed to do. I'm not their boss. I'm not supposed to give them direction, but I'm just there as the liaison to talk to them and bring it back to you, the mayor, which I have done in the past. Also, I wanted to talk about these special meetings that we have on nights when we have committee meetings. I know that that's the cost-saving initiative, but if we cannot make that meeting, and sometimes it's at the very last minute, and I know it's at the mayor's discretion. If we only have meetings on Tuesdays, and if we're only gonna have special meetings on Tuesdays before the meetings, then that's fine, but some nights we have other meetings. I just want to know, could, whoever could let us know, the clerk, give us as much notice as she can when we're gonna have one, especially at 6 o'clock. I work at 9 to 5 for the board of bid, and sometimes I need to know as soon as I can. And then lastly, about what you guys are talking about, I want to know if any of the employees, and you might be able to answer this tonight, have a cell phone that the village paid for. I know that they drive the cars out of the village. I want to know if they have cell phones that they use to get their job done. And I'll be making a list of some other things that I would like to know as cost-saving initiatives by the time we have the next meeting, and definitely by the time we have the budget hearings. Thank you.
There are other employees that have cell phones, and they use it for their job.
All right. There's some awful lot of good stuff talked about tonight. There's a couple of things that I'd like to clear up. Mr. Mayor, did you say that every meeting that a trustee attends, he gets paid for? First of all, that's not true. Half the meetings I attend, Bill, I don't even excuse it. But you're allowed the meeting we have here, and you're allowed one committee. That's what I was told when I came on board.
But let's go back to what you get paid. By ordinance, trustees get paid for village board meetings, 2 months, and up to 2 months, and committee meetings up to 2 months. And they get paid for their own personal committee. So you have ordinance review committee. As long as you fill out the report, saying the night you had it, you get paid for those nights. But a trustee can only get paid up to,
Anyway,
it comes up to 5 meetings per month that trustees can get paid for.
Regardless, there's quite a few of us now. I don't put paperwork, and I don't plan to put paperwork on, and I go to at least 3. I'm involved with at least 3 of them myself, but I go to a heck of a lot more. Cost initiative, the main purpose I want is to talk to the youth. It is not for the soccer thing. There's a lot more things out there that can bring in revenue into this town than the small sum that you were bringing up. However, it's money is money. Thank goodness the board just put on board with the new committee, debt recovery, and after talking to the press people today, it's going to work out. Everything looks good. Everybody's on board. We're paying up to the 29th, and probably within for 2 or 3 months, we'll get anything, then we'll start seeing it right come out. That's a positive thing. That's something that we can look forward to. That's something that we all can get from. I know I need assistance from the liaison for the police department. I definitely going to need assistance from finance and to get everything in place where we can have it on board. That's working together. And I think almost every meeting I've been to the last 4 months, there's always someone accountability. I have no problem with it. I invite you to hold us accountable. If we're supposed to be doing our job for these residents, that's what the residents put us in place. Some residents don't think we do a good enough job. Well, that's your prerogative. Some residents think we do a good job. That's your prerogative. But there is a a lot of stuff out there, and my main goal was, if you go out and pull the money, you pull the money. But it's just like the job of someone there. I'm on retirement, I really don't care one way or the other, I get a set fee from government and from my retirement fund. It'd be nice, but if you do it, you do it, it's no big deal. But my problem is there's a lot more things out here that we need to look into. You get revenue, and Trustee Burgess mentioned several times, he has a lot of items that he would like to bring up to the board and present that will bring in revenue. I know Rosie has been working with the police department on the rest almost every meeting, go back, books, top of books, notes I took at every meeting that was mentioned, why isn't a police officer doing this? That's where Rosie, he goes and talks with the chief of police, and it's been happening. I don't know what she's been doing, but amazing things have been happening. There's still some concern about yet. Rosie gets concerned, everybody in the board gets phone calls one way or the other. So you we probably get more out of it. But once again, Jeff has a couple of good things. If it doesn't cost us money to get started into it, and you have a trustee that's willing to jump on board and try to get moving, why not? So, that's all I have.
And then, we're on cost saving initiative. I think you look at tonight, two things that are up for the board, cost savings initiatives. We brought Comcast in to take a look at our phone services. Savings of $2,498 a month. That's $2,500 a month. That's cost savings. If you look at with the internet, having them come in with their internet versus what we currently have, another cost savings of almost $1,000 a month. In fact, I think it's going to be a little over 1,000 because we look at another 70 added on to the 926. So, these are actual cost savings. Tonight we talked about passing the approval of the resolution that's coming on the agenda for the new lights coming in. We put out a press release that went to the newspapers. You look at the cost savings just on those lights we're going to see, going from our current lights that we have out there to bring in these new, I always get mixed up what kind of lighting there are, but this new lighting that's energy efficient, that's brighter, and at the same time, it's going to end up repairing lights that are broken out there on some of these streets that still may have some lights that are out. Again, another cost savings. Again, we continue to look at what are we currently doing, what have we done in the past, and what can we change. And we're asking for people to come in, and Comcast came in at no cost. We reached out to Comcast, and they said, hey, can you take a look at our phone lines and our internet? They had someone come in at no cost and said, here, we're not going to charge you for this, but you can save $2,500 a month because you're no longer using these lines, and you're paying for them. So, we're getting a lot of this advice from people coming in and showing us how we can do cost savings. And again, when we started cost savings initiatives on here, this is not something to take glory for from a mayor's position. This is something that I made very clear ever since the beginning, that this is something as a trustee that you bring a cost savings initiative and you run with it. And then you come back and say, here's what I did as a trustee, and here's the amount of money that we can save by doing it. It's not something that, I'm not looking for you to throw something out on the table and say, Mayor, you go take care of it. This is cost savings initiative for the trustees to come and you run with it. Trustee Myers took something and ran with it. And he ran so far with it, he's even chairing a new committee for debt recovery. And he's working with our collection agencies to go out and go after people who's not paying their bills. That was a cost savings initiative that Trustee Myers brought. And like you said, first few months we're probably not going to see anything, but we're looking at months down the road, we'll start seeing stuff. He'll be coming and reporting. Now I'm looking forward to the day he does, to say, based off this cost savings initiative, this last month we brought in this amount of money. Or in the last 6 months, we brought in this much. So I'm not looking for glory as a mayor, I'm looking for trustees to step up to the plate and say, you know what, I know it's a little bit extra time and work, but I'm gonna show the residents what I can do as a trustee. So, Mr. Rich.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, second part, because I've done that before. I presented something to the board and about me going to that, and it was presented before the budget was knocked down the next month, so that's why I'm kind of reluctant, because I'm not willing to sit to another meeting and talk about what I didn't do for another 3 or 4 hours. But I just wanted to know from you and to this board, who makes a decision to go over, when the department goes over budget, who makes that decision to go ahead and keep spending? Because I know I never was asked, can we go over it? If a line item is budgeted for 10,000 and they want to go over that, who makes that decision? Is that made by you? It's definitely not made by Mohan. So, because I asked him about the same question. If you see that that line item is not, it's going over the budget, who makes a decision to go ahead and keep going? Because there's a few items that are on the comparison, the 8-month comparison that went way over budget, and I'm just wondering, why did they stop it when it was at that particular point? Why were they allowed to keep on spending that money in that department?
Which department?
First one that I was talking about was publications.
Which department?
This is just administration, so I guess that would be,
Yes.
okay.
We're
The publications and memberships, we budgeted for 10,000, so we spent 18,000.
Can't hear you. Public notices.
Public notices, okay, but I'm just wondering, is there anybody that, someone can say, hey, we're at that threshold right now, should we, kind of rethink this? Those are just, I'm not gonna go through it. It's just 20 minutes tonight, I'm not gonna go through it, I don't need to go back and forth. We can do this each and every month, and I would like to sit down with yourself and Mohan, because I'm getting conflict information, because there's a lot of things that we know we're getting ready to go over, or we have gone over, and we continue to keep spending. And that's what I wanted to find out.
I think our biggest one we're over is, we could say, probably payroll.
Well, I know that.
And payroll's over, I mean, you look at each department, there's reasons for it.
I understand that too. I mean, it's not, payroll, I do know because payroll was overtime in departments that we've had, we have problems with, or we have people that have left that quite naturally have to be filled with, overtime, especially dispatches and things like that. I understand that. But I'm just wondering, first of all, we can kind of nip a lot of this in the bud if we have somebody that can say, okay, or they bring it before the board, or bring it before someone to say, we're at that threshold. Do we continue to do this, or do we cut something else out inside your budget and continue to fund that? That's another thing. I also, I was looking at the aging. We just wanted to know, does beautification doesn't have but a $300 budget, but then again, we have bills that we're paying Smith's Farm. Smith's Farm coming out of what? What is that? I don't even see where it's. I know there's a bill, but where is that being paid from? I asked Mohan about that too, and he told me general fund. And I'm just wondering how they were able to amass a bill of that amount without anybody giving the okay to that. I don't know what it entailed, but it was quite a bit. These are some of the things that I talked about before, and you talked about no one brings anything back. I bring it constantly back to the board. I better get shut down, or I get told I don't know what I'm talking about like tonight, or I don't know what I mean. I'm not into that. I'm into bringing back facts. I see numbers, I bring numbers back, and I try to discuss it, but then I get a long dissertation that we should do this. In the meantime, we still are over. Yes, you're saying that we're 67% in, but we have a lot of things in the line item that are already 100%, and we still have 4 months to go.
If I can ask here real quick, Beautification Committee has spent $252 this year out of $300
Correct.
original budget.
That's what I said. So what did the Smith Farm, what is that, where budget did that come from? There's a bill for almost $4,000 for Smith's Farm. Whose line item does that come out of?
You guys want what the $4,000 is for?
I asked him, he told me it came from Smith's Farm. I asked him, what did they, he said,
But Smith's Farm does more than just beautification.
no, that's why I'm asking, where does it come from?
Well, again, if it's the leaf collection, Smith's Farm,
Okay.
they take some leaves and they
Okay.
charge for that.
Okay, then there's nothing, that should
If
go,
it's billed for
Public
beautification.
Works, that should go into Public Works.
Right. But I'm
But it's
saying,
not.
if it's billed for beautification committee, and say beautification according
Right, I saw that.
to 250 jobs.
I saw that. I'm not asking that. And that was my answer. I know that we do buy things from Smith's
And
Farm.
if you're not getting your answer, again, I would say, let's grab your department head, you and your department head and me, and let's sit down and see if we get these answers.
I have no problem with that. That's
Because
what
you're
I
the liaison, and
Yes, I am.
I would look to you and say, well, what's the $4,000 for?
asked that question, Mayor.
And if you're not getting your
And
answer.
I was told that it came for general fund expenses.
Okay, if you're not getting your answer, then that's where you say it's not.
Okay, because there's a lot of other things that we need to go over. And also, right now, I know that you keep saying that we're right in line. We're behind big time. And we're gonna be behind when the next budget comes.
Hang on, you say behind.
We're behind as far as we owe more than, in other words, we're over the budget.
With 40% of our property taxes.
Okay,
So we've got another
I
60%
understand.
coming in.
what do we have, if it doesn't? You keep saying if, Mayor. You keep saying if.
You're saying that, it's
No.
gonna come in.
Oh, okay,
They have to pay us.
okay, okay, okay.
Just
And
saying,
if they don't,
when it's gonna come in.
but as I stated before, you know I have, what's the contingent? What do we do? The police chief was here asking you last meeting that he needed to do something, and you told him when the money comes in. I'm hoping that it doesn't get to a point where we can't run the cars because we can't pay for the gas because we wait for the money to come in. We need to put something in place that we need to say, okay, this is how we do it. Now, what we've been doing and what you did do and what was done the last time, we just paid payroll. I understand that. But until that point, where do we stop and where do we hold back and say, okay, we're gonna not do this until, like you said, we had 67% of the budget has gone, and we only got 47% of the money in, so therefore that right there tells you that we're in a deficit right now, so how do we stop, what do we do? And I'm not just talking payroll, there's other things, other services, not services, but other things that we need to look at.
And what we're doing is, well, when Mohawk gets back, we'll put together a report, and it will go to all of our state representatives and say, you know what, Sauk Village needs our money, when is the state going to pay us? And
But you said you went down
we're
to Springfield for that.
I
you
did.
went- Okay.
And again, talking to the state reps, they're saying that, it's gonna slow things down for a little bit. The governor come in, he's checking things out. We talked about the grants and the money that the governor gave us. We got $108,000 for a police chief, for a police officer. We got a grant for that. We just received a grant for our parks, $205,000. In fact, I got all the grant information sitting right here. Department of Revenue. The day after the governor put a hold on everything, I received everything in the mail. The whole entire grant approved. Okay?
Now we got the money.
So.
I know we had the paperwork, but we haven't got the money.
When they give you the money, when they give you the grant, they won't write you a check.
I know, but Mayor, I don't count anything until I have money in hand.
No, we've got the $4.8 million for the,
But we haven't got that. I mean, I'm sorry, but I pay my bills when I get my money. I don't pay one credit card with another credit card. I pay my bills. If I don't have it, then okay, I say I don't have it. But I'm not gonna steal for people, keep stealing for people to pay for, sooner or later you got to pay up. So, but I'm just saying,
we've talked
when do
we've
we,
talked to the department heads and told them, we're at the whole operation right now. So we've already talked to them about that. We are making payroll only right now, so we need to make sure we have enough funds to make payroll.
okay,
We're contacting our state representatives, so we're in contact. We've got money that's due to the village that, we're just waiting to get our paycheck. So, once we get the money that's due to the village,
okay, but
things will get paid.
But my question still is, what do we do in the meantime? We can't shut the doors until they pay us. I mean, I didn't get any numbers. That was the reason why I asked about the hiring. I didn't get any numbers from, well, Mohan is gone now, how much the part-timers are going to cost. I know that they're not going to be as expensive as overtime, but I still like to know how much they're gonna cost and how many, you just got to say we're hiring 4, and how many hours are they gonna work minimum per week, and how much is that gonna cost us. Those are some of the things that I wanted to find out before we actually hired the 4. Now you say that we hired 4. I still don't know what they're gonna cost, and you know, it is gonna help us with overtime, and it's gonna help us with compensation as far as health and welfare. But how much is it going to cost? And do they have to work with a full-timer? So therefore, if they work with a full-timer, it's still gonna cost us overtime because they can't work by themselves. So those are the questions, which I did ask. I asked those questions, and I'm sure they're in the minutes.
Well,
I just want to know.
I feel is I have 2 of them there in the ready room at all times. So if you have a full-time and you have a part-time, you've got 2 people in the ready room. You know, we do know that we've lost, we already talked about when we lost him. You know, we've got other dispatchers that,
One more, we're right, I understand.
we've got one, and so what ends up happening is, you know, these part-timers come in and start filling these positions. And also at the same time, we're helping, you know, in a position that's needing help.
To make a long story short, do we have to have a full-time person in there with them at all times? Can a part-timer work by himself?
That's a contractual issue.
Okay, because if that's the case, then we're still paying overtime. Because if a full-timer calls off and he's not able to work that shift, someone has to work in there, and it won't be just a part-time, another full-time has to be in there with that part-timer, which means that's overtime. That's what I'm asking. Okay. That's all.
All right. Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Trustee Murphy a question. Can I see the question? That's for you, okay. I want to ask you, Trustee.
Oh, ask me and they'll answer it.
Okay. You're the liaison for finance. So that's what you're doing with, like the mayor just said, if you have a problem, you tell him, and you and him together will go to Mohan and get the questions, to all the answers that you need. Get all your questions answered. And I just wanted to say that that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I wanted to also say, I can say this, we love our residents, we love the audience, but if they have to go, we have to understand that. They got jobs or whatever they gotta go do. But we was elected the city to take care of the business. I don't care how long it takes. If you gotta get questions answered from the mayor or questions answered, then we need to get an understanding as trustees. I'm not trying to rush home because it's 8 o'clock. We need to stay here and take care of this business for the residents, no matter how long it takes. Whoever gotta go, trustees, for God forbid, the mayor, residents, let them go. But we was elected to sit here and run the village for the residents, and we need to quit looking at the time to take care of the business. My question is, we had more employees, quote unquote, in the previous administration, more employees. We've been off a lot of people. We've lost a lot of services, but we still have taxpayers paying tax dollars. So then where's the money? You're the liaison for the finance.
Liaison. Anyway, the money, we've lost a lot of people. We've lost a lot of taxpayers in the village. You drive around, you walk around, you've been in this village, you see a lot of empty homes. Those empty homes aren't paying taxes. And that's what's wrong. We lost a lot of tax base. We lost businesses. We lost our base. Yes, and we had to cut. Just think if we had had those jobs there, how much money we would really be behind. So yes, that's what happened to our base is gone.
Okay.
Down, not gone, but it's still there. And the people that are here, unfortunately, have to pay a little bit more because they get levied more because we have to have certain amount for services and things.
Okay, the mayor just said the money is coming in 60% more is coming in. They have to pay us. It just said right here, said that. So we had vacant homes. We got people here that's housing commissioners. We had like 200 and some vacant homes. Now we're down to like 100 and some vacant homes. I know some of those homes are being rented. They're not all being owned. But don't we need to know how many homeowners so that we can have a logistic budget of how much tax money we have that's going to come in? That's a rhetorical question.
Okay, well, the thing to do, trustee, is this. I think your numbers are off a little bit as far as yeah. But Anyway, the best way to find out who's paying taxes, and what homes are paying taxes, is go to your water. Go to the water department, go to the water representative. She can let you know who's paying the water bills. 9 times out of 10, those homes are paying taxes. Either it be someone renting or whatever, but taxes are being paid for that particular property. We make our budget for what we have. If we project $5 million, our budget should be $5 million. Whatever.
All right, that's a good conversation too, that's good. All right, I'll tell you what, again, 2 weeks from now, come back with more questions. But again, if you got questions, stop by the office, please. And then let's see if we get some of this stuff answered. I'd rather be able to say, I had a question, and I was able to meet with the department, or I met with the mayor, and I got my answer, and here's my answer. So I have no problem with that also. So with that said, let's move to public comment. Question and comments is directed to the mayor. Speaker will be given 3 minutes to comment on a topic of their choice. Each speaker will be allowed 1 opportunity to speak. Please state your name for the record.
At Couch. One thank Mr. Myers for taking the job of collections that are owed to this village from the people that have fines outstanding. And I hope and pray that these people will start looking at why some of the little things that were in the hole over, because they feel like they don't have to pay these fines, and therefore, with what Mr. Myers is doing, there is over $100,000 in outstanding fines. I may be off a little bit, but once this company goes after those funds, this is going to be a big help to the village, just in one respect. But these people that continue to get fined for tickets, that they are doing things like, I don't know, I can't even think offhand what they're getting these tickets for or whatever, but they think they don't have to pay once they get stopped or once they do whatever. These fines add up. The first time they ignore it, it goes to court, it's, let's say, $50. The next time it doubles, they ignore it again. Well, now we need to go after those deadbeat people that keep doing the things that they're doing and start making collections. So if I have a fine, come and get me, make me pay it. Because that's what these people need to do. If they come into Sauk Village and they think they can come in here and just sit down and, oh, I'll not pay my water bill, or I'll not pay this bill. Let it ride. Who's riding with that fee? You and me. We're carrying the burden of these people that let these fines go. And then we have our code people that go into the streets, they write the tickets, and they have the time to either throw them away and ignore them. We've got people doing their job. Now let's do our job and get this company to go after these people and collect the money over $100,000 that has come to us. Let's help get the village back with the funds that these people in this village owe us. Good job, good job. Get the money, get the money.
Okay, just so we're clear, last report I saw, it exceeds $250,000, right?
Yes.
It exceeds $250,000, so we're talking over $250,000 in fines and fees that have been paid.
Ready for me now?
I'm looking at you too.
And I appreciate that. First, we're on behalf of the Sauk Village Citizen Public Awareness. This has been a great discussion about what the trustees are responsibility, their roles and responsibility as trustees. However, I'll give you 2 suggestions. We might want to revisit the $36,000 that we paid our lobbyists. Since Ron has to tighten the belt, we not get that money, so we save $36,000. Also, a couple years ago, we decided to put the fire chief over the police department. We would save $95,000. Even though I do believe we need, my personal opinion, we need a police chief. But we might save $95,000, $125,000 that we could save if we don't fill that position. It's my understanding that Alita's does not have a contract and you're not obligated to give them one. Second of all, a couple years ago, residents often came here and said that you need to review vendors' contract. Nobody ever did. So you guys might want to look into Robinson Engineering, which takes a big bulk out of our money. Any jobs that they have on hold, they might not want to do. You might want to put that on hold now. You might want to look at Bud Emblem service. We pay them $5,800 a month. I see them sitting down there in the car lot. I like to know what they're doing. And the last thing I'd like to say is that, what is the plan B if we don't get this money from the state to improve the infrastructure? What are we going to do? And lastly, in response to the FOIA request, the agent report shows that we owe $832,000 in debt. Can somebody please elaborate on that, or what's going on with that? We have bills that have to be paid that's more than 151 days old. Can anybody explain that to me? Now, they gave me 2 ideas for cost of this week. I'd like to feedback.
Is that right?
See, I think he wasn't watching.
I'm writing.
Oh, okay.
All right, is that all you have?
Yeah.
All right.
I think those.
I think we're kind of go backwards. You talk about $800,000 in debt. When I became mayor, we were over $1 million in debt. So no, but wait, okay. And over the last 2.5 years, we've slowly paid stuff off, and we're going to continue paying off. We talked about what we're going to do.
This is from the 800,000.
Yes.
Use your mic.
That's last time.
Hang on. I think what you look at is we were over $1 million in debt when we became mayor. Okay. We've paid those off, but the thing is, you still have things that's being spent. So we start paying off from the backside going up. So I can't tell you that everything's from the previous administration, but I can tell you we've worked our way back and we've paid stuff off. So, we'll continue. We'll continue. Okay. There's no debate. Okay, I'll try to answer these questions. There's no debate.
Okay.
So you talk about what we're going to do if we don't get these funds, that we've been promised. Again, we will continue meeting with our state representatives, and I'm told, I met with Napoleon Harris last Wednesday, I met with Donnie Trotter last Wednesday, I met with O.G. Sims, and I met with Marcus Evans. Okay, I didn't get with Thaddeus Jones. Okay, they all assured me that, we've got a new governor in place, he's doing a bunch of stuff, but what it's going to do is slow things up, but think money will come, okay? I'm basing off of their telling me. I met with our lobbyists last week, and some people may say, well, they $3,000 a month, $36,000 for a lobbyist, but that lobbyist last year, look at what they got us. That lobbyist, because that lobbyist was down there, they were able to get things put inside bills that was passed by the Senate, was passed by the House, and was signed by the governor. Okay, that's in a bill. When you look at the $135,000, you look at $175,000, you look at $75,000, $25,000. Part of this $25,000 and the $75,000, we've already started receiving funds for. We've already gone off and started purchasing fire vehicles. Okay, those are amounts that are put inside bills. The lobbyists down there were able, worked with the governor's office, worked with our state representatives to get us our $4.8 million. They were working with the IEPA to make sure the grants go through. Our lobbyist down there was able to get us this $205,000 grant, working with IDNR, making sure that all paperwork was correct. Again, working through the governor's office. So you look at $5 million plus that a $36,000 investor had, that they're down there constantly plugging for Sauk Village. They're down there now working for us through the governor's office, saying, you know what, the previous governor gave Sauk Village this money, you need to release these funds. So they are down there working for Sauk Village. Again, I met with them this last Wednesday, and they're going to continue working with them. Working on again, I've had conversations with our state representatives. We're going to put stuff in writing from the village so that we can make sure that the governor's getting something on our letterhead. So, again, the amounts of money that we've started to receive, the amounts of money that has been allocated to come to Sauk Village, that's through largely the support of our lobbyists down in Springfield. In Springfield, the way it works is there may be some extra money, all of a sudden they have money, and they're reaching out saying, where's your shovel-ready project? And your lobbyists down there are saying, Sauk Village has this. Remember this white pages that we showed you? So they're down there working for us. You talk about the fire chief, the police department. We did do that, where we put the police department under the fire chief. But now we've separated departments again, and you've got a police chief in there with the chain of command. I'm not too much in favor of this right now. And again, you talked about reviewing vendors. We've talked to our attorneys. I've talked to Robinson Engineering. There's a lot of things that both Robinson Engineering and our attorneys do that come out and they don't charge us for. That they're working for, they know the financial state of the village. They know that the village is having a hard time. And then you look at, there's some of our bills that we owe. I don't know how much we owe our attorneys right now, but probably that 800,000, probably I would say, how much? At least about $300,000 or $400,000 because of our attorneys. So, and those attorneys are working for us and representing us in court. So, I think it's very important to realize that, every time someone files a lawsuit against Sauk Village, the attorneys are representing the residents of Sauk Village. So it's important to realize, if we weren't getting any lawsuits, they wouldn't be getting the money. So that's where we're at there. And Buds, Sauk Village has a relationship with Buds where they provide ambulance service, and they're close by in the area, so when we have a ambulance call. They're not a Sauk Village Fire Department. They are Buds Ambulance Service. So rather than Buds Ambulance Service sitting in a garage in Chicago somewhere, wherever they're located, I can't remember off the top of my head, they are sitting somewhere closer to Sauk Village. And a lot of times you'll see them sitting down here just past the railroad tracks, or sometimes you'll see them sitting in Walgreens parking lot, so that they're not using our fire department as a spot to be sitting. They are sitting in the street, on the street. All right, next.
Well, whoever don't know who I am, my name is Tom. I'm here with the Sauk Village. Back in Christmas, I installed a small LED sign to advertise for the business. Then I get a call half hour after that from Sherry telling me that that sign can't be turned on because it's prohibited. Actually, I came in here and talked to Sherry, and she told me because it's blinking and because it's blinking too fast. So I told her, well, what if I stop the blinking? Then she said, as long as it blinks or scroll every 9 seconds to 11 seconds, just like Walgreens. So I went back to the restaurant and adjusted that. Then she called me back and she told me she digged a little bit more, and she said I can't have an LED sign whatsoever because I'm a C1. That's why I'm here now to see is there any way that, for me to, for us to figure out a way to turn that sign on, to feed the purpose of having the sign, just to advertise for the residents, that was the whole purpose of it, not knowing C1, what is C2, whatever that. Knowing that Walgreens has probably the same sign, which is probably 3 times bigger than the sign that I'm talking about. That's all.
Thank you, very good point. Last Tuesday night, this was brought to the board's attention, and it was passed over to the ordinance review committee to review and make recommendations. So again, go look at the reasoning, if there is any reasoning behind the C1, C2. I know Walgreens came to Sauk Village, they went through a lot of different variances and through the zoning board asking for some changes. So I don't know exactly what changes they asked for, it's quite a few years ago. But it has been sent over to the ordinance review committee to review and make a recommendation to its board. And that happened last Tuesday.
Now, do we know, how long that takes, or?
They meet once a month, but if he calls for a special meeting, they'll make a recommendation, it'll come back before the board here at a committee meeting. The village board will review it, and if something that the village board wants to vote on, it'll be voted on at probably the next village board meeting. So, yes.
The gentleman right across the street, there is one last one, not expressway. There's another one last one, just because there are in a different classification. I think what he asked me, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if there's any way without the sign, you lose the business. And is there any way that until the I understand the ordinance is flashing itself. He can put that sign where it does not flash at all. It's a type that you can regulate. I think we can shut it down.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can keep it.
And I know I've talked to the chairperson of the ordinance, the committee, and it's gonna probably between mine and his, it's gonna take another couple of months before I can get a decision to the board. And that's, you have a couple good holidays coming up, at Valentine's Day, Labor Day, not Labor Day, so a couple coming up. I think he's asking us to any way the board can do temporary commission, just turn the lights on and without flashing until he gets the outcome of the board, whatever the vote of the board is together. The zoning board is, they have to set their media, presented to them, they just discuss it, we get back to me, and I put it in my committee, we discuss it, and then I bring it back to the board. So you're looking a couple months down the road, we get it found out.
Yeah, there's nothing really that I can do. I think I talked to you on the phone.
Right.
Because as a board, part of our oath says we will enforce the ordinances of this community. And if there's an ordinance that's spelled a certain way, we're supposed to enforce the ordinance. Now, is there other things that can be done? And I think we've already taken those steps. We sent it to the ordinance review committee. Okay. We look for them to come back with a recommendation. And what this board does is based off their recommendation, could end up changing that ordinance. Once that ordinance is changed through an amendment, we would amend the ordinance, and which hopefully that the recommendation will come back to do a sign like yours you're in a C1, right? C1, C2. So you're in a C1, which would allow a C1. But until we get an ordinance that is passed by this board, I think the questions being asked is, can you not abide by the ordinances in this community? And not I nor this board can give you that permission. And I think I tried to explain that to you when we talked on the phone, that there's nothing that I can do if the ordinance is set in place. You know, our oath is we will enforce the ordinances of this community that we serve. So, you know, I'll follow up with Sherry, find out if there's anything in the ordinance that says you can leave your light completely on, or it's not strobing. But again, I look to Sherry, because Sherry is the administrator, the zoning administrator. If there's anyone here who knows that book as good as Trustee Myers does, she's probably right along with him, if not right there. So, yeah, if there's anything that we can find in there, we'll give you a call. But as of right now, I would say that we have to enforce the ordinance in this community. Again, and on top of it, I mean, you put a sign up without getting a sign permit. Well, if you would have came in for a sign permit, she would have told you before you spent all the money putting it up that it was not eligible for that area. And we could have started the process a long time ago before you put it up. I feel bad for you, I really do. And if there's anything that I could do as a mayor, I would. But because we have an ordinance in place, we don't have to do it. But I will try to push the ordinance review committee and see what we can do. All right, sorry about that. No problem.
I would contact the chairman of the zoning board.
Mayor, I had several questions to ask pertaining to the fire hydrant. What is the current status of the villages of the village pertaining to the fire hydrant? How often are they checked to ensure they work? Is this information shared with the residents? How are the hydrants marked to indicate if they work or not? Is this information shared with the residents? Do you have a listing and a map of all the fire in the village? Does this listing and map identify which hydrants are working or not? Is this information shared with the residents? When do you plan to replace the broken hydrant? is this information shared with you? Now, I have one other thing I have to say. Again, now we're going to do some information. You know, the fire hydrant not working. Those is not working. This could be a really serious issue because it could cause loss of life. It could cause loss of property. And we have to pay higher taxes.
Good? All right. Questions about fire hydrants? And I don't want to give you the wrong information. If Kevin was here, I'd probably tell you, what we'll do is we'll make sure he announces it next week. But fire hydrants throughout the village are checked. I don't know the, I don't want to say monthly or bi-monthly. I don't remember when it is, to be honest with you, okay? But I do know the fire hydrants are checked. Fire hydrants are checked in the middle of the night. We bring a crew in between, I think it's 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. The announcement goes out on the marquee, letting village residents know which part of town is getting, fire hydrants are being checked, so that residents know. So, you know, if they're doing the south side, between 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning, they're in there and they're popping all the fire hydrants, running water off them, and checking them. Currently, we do mark, and it's, the fire department knows, and the public works knows which ones are not working. We mark those with a white paint. Yeah, it's like white paint. We mark the tops of those with. Now, you talk about, does the village have a listing of where all the fire hydrants are? And we have a water atlas mapping. Yes, we do. So we know where they're all at. Public Works knows which ones are out. And say the board, we just talked about earlier about how the board approved overtime for Public Works this last year. Public Works spent on Saturdays replacing fire hydrants, lights, and tree trimming if we needed it, but mostly fire hydrants and lighting. I can tell you that approximately 2 years ago, Sauk Village has, again, I'll round some of these numbers off, has approximately 500 fire hydrants. Of those 500 fire hydrants 2 years ago, we were about 17% of those fire hydrants did not work. As of the last numbers that I received in November, I think it was, we are down to about 9%, and I'm sure that number now is even less because I've seen them working on Saturdays replacing fire hydrants. So what they do is there's different types of repairs to fire hydrants. One, if there's just some parts or something on the insides that need to be replaced, they replace those. Or if the fire hydrants need to be completely replaced, they do that. What they do is throughout the week, they'll prep it. You'll see them doing the digging and that kind of work. And on Saturdays, they go in and drop the fire hydrant in and do that. Throughout the week, they can do replacement of parts and things like that. The other thing, too, is we did with our fire department, is we've given them the larger wrenches that the fire department, that the public works uses. So their engines, I think every engine should have a larger wrench. The wrenches that they used to use for fire department was approximately this long. The new ones are approximately 4 feet, 4.5 feet.
3.5 feet long.
3.5 feet. So they're longer, and what it does is because when you open up those hydrants, you'll hear a suction popping noise. That gives them what they need. So we found that a lot of the problems that people would say that a fire hydrant wasn't working was that we need to have that longer wrench on there. And whenever there is an issue with a fire hydrant, if the fire department goes out and says this fire hydrant is not working, Public Works is called in immediately to come out and check that fire hydrant to make sure. Again, we're keeping up our fire department and Public Works is working hand in hand, making sure that we have fire hydrants that's working.
Just one other item that we did for the safety of the residents. Every call we get, regardless if it's a false alarm, if there's a smoke detector or anything, we have an agreement with another department that will respond at the same time we're responding. And will bring out 3,700 gallons of water to us. And we have water. Same time our engine reserve for 500 tankers right there beside us. So we have definitions to protect the residents.
So, and what ends up happening is,
I mean,
yeah, what ends up happening is if we have a tanker that leaves the fire department, another tanker is coming from another town that comes to our fire department. So that we're constantly having tankers that's available. So a lot of times you'll see if our fire department's on a call, you might see Stager or Korean Chicago Heights, someone, their fire truck coming in and parking inside or in our parking lot at our fire department. That's so that they're on call, they're ready in case we need additional water.
Creek Township, Creek, Stager, and sometimes Farmhouse.
Yep. So we, again, that's our mutual agreements that we have between Sauk Village and these other communities. But you talk about sharing with residents. I think we share with the residents at those board meetings. And residents come up and ask questions. We share with the residents. We share at town hall meetings. You're probably sharing stuff with the residents, and then the mayors we're sharing with the residents. So, trying to make sure the residents know what everything's going on. And again, we're working very hard as we receive these funds, these grants, to replace these fire hydrants. As the money comes in, we're ordering the fire hydrants and getting them ordered and getting them in here so that when we have time, when we have employees available, we can continue replacing and repairing. And again, getting this number down further and further, it's been a goal of mine since been working here.
Well, the reason I'm really stressing this is because a year ago or so, we had 2 houses got burned up completely. And one, they didn't even get water out the fire. Right. Plus outside and leave.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Rose Langston. I'm glad to hear the discussion that went on here because my question was really on the special meeting December 30th. As you know, I'm a longtime resident, taxpaying, and I'm really concerned with the cost savings. I know that we had the 3 trustees that called the meeting, and I know I attended a lot of more meetings here probably than a lot of you sitting on the board. I'm kind of concerned because I didn't think that there was an urgency for the special meeting, except that each trustee received their $125, which was $625 for 5 of them in attendance. So I'm wondering, is that really cost savings? Some of the items that some of the few trustees mentioned, that one of them was on the liaison, and to hear a trustee say that they sat on the board for 6 years and didn't know what direction to go, I was really, really concerned. I'm so glad to hear that the mayor is going to work with the trustee because I was a little concerned with being a liaison doesn't mean that you micromanage the position. My question was, have you expressed your concern to the mayor, which was answered? Have you met and had a meaningful conversation with the respective department head? One of the things is if you're not able to communicate, you need to overcome that objection. You have to find a different way of doing it. Have you taken notes on comments that this resident have made on the particular department? Maybe that could also help you in working with that department head. And have you taken time to find out what that particular department's activities are? And one of the other things was, I know that trustees have certain things, and I wanted to know, have you shared your copies of your budget concerns with your colleagues prior to you bringing it up to a meeting? Because I've often heard, I didn't get a chance to review and look it up. So in order for your colleagues to work, they need to have advanced information. And also a question about having a village manager with so-called credential is no guarantee. Look what had happened before when the money was for a manager and it wasn't there. So what was accomplished at that meeting?
Correct.
So what's the urgent plan? Thank you. I have a few more.
All right, thank you very much.
The reason why I asked for the meeting is because, and I think I've stated it before once tonight, there were 5 weeks without a meeting. And as the mayor stated, unless a meeting is, the reason for a special meeting is to see something that cannot be done by the next scheduled board meeting. The next scheduled board meeting was 5 weeks away. My concern was the communication of how it was presented, of how the meetings were deleted, and the why. And if, my concern is that we don't have 5 weeks of meetings where the residents and the board can communicate. I can't wait till the end of the 5 weeks to discuss that. Now, before the meeting was held, there were 5 weeks with no meeting. When the meeting was posted, there were 3 meetings in that time that happened. One was not a meeting, one was a hearing. But the 13th came up as a meeting, and we had that special meeting, which allowed opportunity for discussion of how we were going to move forward. That's what was the urgency for that meeting. I can't speak to the rest of the
budget, that's the reason.
No, I never did the meeting as a cost savings initiative. I'm not sure that meetings are a cost savings initiative because we do have things like hearings and things like that. So that's not, I'm not pro or con on that. I still think that needs some more discussion, but I was concerned with the systematic process of the village and communication moving forward. To me, that's an urgency. That's why I asked for the meeting. Every other question out there.
Judy Kastner. My question comes from last week when I was unable to ask it about the grants. And as you and other people have noted that the governor has put a stop on all the grants and expenditures that went through Governor Quinn. It's my understanding that there is a possibility that we will not get that money. And a lot of towns are going to go through a long process where he is going to go over each and every grant to see what it entails. It also requires, as you said, the grant alone in doing all the paperwork, the legwork, etc., to get that grant. It doesn't mean that the governor can just say, okay, we're going to give it to him. He has to go through procedures too. And if he didn't do that, the chances of us getting it are even slimmer. My question is there a plan B if we don't get this?
20 years.
I mean, are we spending money that now, because we feel that we're going to save a $300,000 a year payment, are we spending some of that money now? And now there's a possibility we won't get it? The budget is a big concern. Cost initiative has a lot that can be done and a lot of good things were said tonight. But a lot of things are being done and they're not out there. We don't hear about it until it's over and done with. Money is borrowed from one subject to another subject, take it from here, put it there. Oh my God, I forgot about that. We were supposed to give it back. Oh hell, forget it. We'll try something else next time. We're getting bigger and bigger in the hole, I think. And we're spending money, but we don't have any money. And I'd like to know, how are we going to go around that? Cost initiative is great, but it isn't any good if we keep spending. And we keep bringing things in. We have a lobbyist, and I have said this before. I agree with you on the lobbyist. He's done great things for us. But he did great. He's got so many communities. He probably, Sauk Village is probably, starting with an S, is probably the last one on the list. He's got a whole lot of communities.
All right, we'll move kind of backwards. Statement was made that money being pulled here and there, and if we don't pay back, I can't remember your exact words. I just want to make sure that the residents are rest assured that no money is borrowed from an account that's not paid back. That's why we're audited every year now. That's why all of our audits are up in place. Because when you borrow something by state statute, you have a certain amount of time to make sure it's paid back. And we do. If we don't, our auditors are going to catch it. So that money is paid back in the time that it's supposed to be paid back. So I just want to make sure I make that very clear. That no money is borrowed from any location that's not paid back. It's paid back within the amount of time. Talking about the governor holding funds, you're right. Again, that was one reason I spent so much time down in Springfield this last week to meet with all of our state representatives, I tried meeting with the governor, but he wasn't around when I was down there. But the governor put a hold on everything to review. So I think we need to make sure to remember that it's under review. The other thing too, you talk about Plan D, that spending money is, I don't know where you get that about spending money, because if we don't have the money, we're not spending it. The work is still happening on the air strippers. That's because we still have the loan. So there's no other money. The grants and stuff we haven't received, we haven't spent the money. That's why we don't have another police officer sitting here. That's why we haven't started work inside the parks. That's why we haven't, done other things. If we receive the funds, we spent it. We bought the fire hydrants as the money comes in. We still have a lot more funds coming in. We're waiting for that money. As the money comes in, we will spend the money based on what the grants were for. And anyone knows, understands grants, knows that there's certain things, and grants are spelled out. If you look at this grant, it tells you every single dollar what the money's going to be spent for on that park. But until we receive these funds, no work will happen in this park. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. The only thing we are spending money on is air strippers. That's good. We still have a loan. So we're working with it. All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, move to questions and comments from the miscellaneous business. Comments from the trustees.
I just wanted to announce that on Monday, January 26th, here at the Village Hall, 3 p.m. will be Staff Appreciation Day. And Cairo will be coming out to give some wellness tips, stress screenings and tips, and then we'll do some final screenings as well. So just kind of announce that for Staff Appreciation.
Trustee Bridges.
Did you not hear that?
Nope. Use your mic.
That's unusual. Nobody can hear me. Okay.
Thank you.
On Monday, January 26th, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be a Staff Appreciation Day. Cairo 1 will be here, and they will be doing stress screenings and tips, engaging in educational final screenings, and they will have wellness tips as well. That's Monday, January 26th, from 12 to 3 p.m. here at the Center.
All right.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Trustee Bridges.
Thank you.
I heard that.
Okay.
Stop there.
I just wanted to announce tomorrow here at Village Hall, we will have our 7th Town Hall meeting from 7 to 8:30. I have a special guest that's coming. Come out and see who they will be, and it'll be pretty interesting. Also, at these meetings, I know it's been said a lot of times that there be a lot of participating going on and things like that. No, it is not. It's strictly informational, engaging with the residents back and forth. But it will not be anything where we can discuss or, as far as village business is concerned, we will talk about it. But everyone is welcome, the mayor is welcome, the trustees are welcome, but we just cannot conduct any business at that meeting because that would be an open meetings act violation. I've been warned with that before, but I would like for everyone to come out tomorrow, and also next month I have another surprise, and you hear about that tomorrow, for Black History Month. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our last basketball sign-ups will be this weekend at the Community Center, Friday from 5 to 7, and again on Saturday from noon to 2. We're also looking at the 1st of February to start a sign-up for baseball with a new committee starting up to try to get the baseball program going. And we have a craft show March 14th at the Community Center. We're looking for vendors. We're starting to get some requests already, so we're looking forward to that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you, sir. Just want to touch on a couple things here real quick. When we were talking about the liaison, one of the things that I do as a liaison is, one, we don't micromanage. I don't go into emergency services and I start poking around and all that type of jazz. What I've always done is gone to Mr. Johnson and basically told him if there's anything that he has any question or concern about, anything that I can help him with, basically, that's what I'm there to do. And that's what I've always done. So from that standpoint, that's what I do with the liaison. I use it. Okay. One of the other things that I wanted to touch base on is people have said numerous times that myself as a current city trustee does not have an action committee. That's true. But one thing that I have talked with the mayor about numerous times is moving forward with something that I have a very close passion about is transportation. Some of the meetings that you've heard at the very end of the meeting, I give a very minor report based on the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Transportation Council meeting. I try to bring information back to the community that basically is going to affect us as a community or around us. I would like to do something like that, so maybe we can discuss it as a board and see if we want to put something together. I know Trustee Burgess put something together for his community committee. I'd like to talk amongst my fellow trustees and see if that's something that we can put together. And I do have something I did post on my Facebook, but I want to let people know about this. I'll read it off my phone here. It is a highway construction career training program. It is at South Suburban College in Oak Forest. It starts March 2nd, 2015, but the orientation and testing is on February 3rd, 4th, 5th of 2015. This is a 12-week free program. Ladies and gentlemen, jobs, jobs, jobs. We got to create jobs to keep people in the South Suburban area. Expand this up here a little bit. There is carpentry, pipe fitting, laborers, equipment operators, cement workers. The requirements are you must be 18 years of age and older, have a valid driver's license, a high school diploma or GED equivalent, and have a good, good ambition. But this is a program to get you into a trade. You're looking to make a career change. And this is possibly it. But, basically, that's about it. Thank you. It is South Suburban College. It's at the Oak Forest campus up Kildare, right off of 57.
Do you have a flyer?
It's on my Facebook page, and I do apologize, Trustee Burgess, I do not have it, but I will get one.
What is it again?
It says the orientation. Yeah, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It says 9 a.m., first come, first serve, to the first 40 people each day. So there is 40 people, yes. And it is a 12-week free program. I have contacted a trustee that sits on the Prairie State Board and asked them if they have something similar to this. They do not. I would love our residents, going to Prairie State, but at this present time, they don't have that. But, this is a program, and, hopefully our residents and people in the surrounding communities will take advantage of this program.
What's the name of the program?
Highway Construction Career Training Program. I know, I forgot. Yeah,
Trustee Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say our next meeting for the Neighborhood Watch will be on Monday, February the 9th at 6:30 at the fire station. The Neighborhood Watch meet every second Monday of the month at the fire station at 6:30 p.m. Also, Trustee Morton, were you saying, I'll get my words together. Were you saying that you wanted the board to sanction this transportation meeting that you go to and come back and give reports for? I thought that that was the committee that you had, so it's not a committee right now that's sanctioned by the village. You're asking for discussion to make that a sanctioned committee, so you attend those meetings and bring back information and possibly get some people to go to the committee to work with you. Is that what you're asking? Yes?
Yes, I've asked the mayor how we go about doing this, and he basically said that I would have to bring it out to the floor, and basically we would go into a discussion amongst my fellow trustees and the mayor, and then basically however it needs to be done legality-wise to put it as a sanction committee or a committee, however that needs to be done.
So, Mayor, how would that be done? You'll talk about it at a later time?
We'll talk about it later time. The committee he's currently on is not a committee that can be sanctioned because he is representing the village on my behalf through a committee through South Florida Mayors and Managers. Looking to have his own committee, which would consist of a committee he has here where he can put his own agendas out and have meetings and committee members.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. And lastly, I just want to make an announcement that the Neighborhood Watch Committee is going to be sponsoring a meet and greet the Sauk Village candidates for 2015 right here at the Village Hall on Saturday, February the 21st. I have contacted all of the candidates. The Neighborhood Watch have a lot of questions. We are a very large, active committee that do engage daily, literally, in the village, and they have a lot of questions and concerns. So after many phone calls and talking with many people over 2 weeks, we finally decided as a committee that we talked to the mayor that we would go on and we would host this meet and greet. I do understand there are going to be some other forums and some debates and some other things that's going to be coming up, but the Neighborhood Watch is going to sponsor a meet and greet of the Sauk Village candidates right here in the Village Hall on Saturday, February the 21st. We're going to have one with the board members for the school district at 1, and then we're going to do the trustees at 4 o'clock, both right here on Saturday, the 21st of February. If you have any questions, you can see me after the meeting. All of the candidates have confirmed.
Trustee Myers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple items. One is the ordinance committee meeting will meet Thursday, February the 13th. This is my next meeting. I have to call for a special meeting.
Can't hear you.
Is that Thursday? The 13th? Or is that Friday?
That
Friday.
So Thursday is the 12th.
I could call for a meeting for this month. It's already passed, but we did make all the bad weather. I canceled it. I still can give all the members a call so we can get them in so we can make it tonight. Let Debbie know when we make the make sure we meet the requirements.
As long as 48 hours. Now, you're going to go back to what the mayor was saying, is you said Thursday the 13th, it's Thursday the 12th. Are you still having a regularly scheduled meeting on February the 12th?
Yes.
Thursday.
Yes.
And then another meeting, which is posted in
Right.
48 hours.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. And then the other one will be the 29th. That's all I have, man.
What was the 29th?
One is what we had, yeah.
All right. Just let the residents know from the mayor that we still have a Human Relations Commission seat that's open. I've already received one letter. Anyone else has any more letters? I've received a letter from the South Family Shelter, and you'll see some stuff hanging up inside the hallway. I also put some brochures out there in the little thing goes around in circles, those brochures, but South Family Shelter has been providing comprehensive service to victims of domestic violence and their families since 1980. They offer training and presentations about domestic violence. They have outreach poster campaign, which you'll see when you go coming in. I got them on the window as you come in the door. They have a collection for use for phones, which they use for fundraising. They've been doing that since 2003. And then, of course, we already talked about the brochures. I also have here, I'll pass over to either village clerk or trustee Williams. They have a sample of articles for communities, newsletters, and bulletins. They're asking if we'll put something in our Sauk Talk, so I'll pass that over to you. Talk about special meetings tonight. Next Tuesday night, the 27th, there's going to be 2 special meetings before our regular board meeting. The first one is at 6 o'clock. That is a public hearing for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination Systems. This is a public hearing that we have to hold. We hold it, I think, every year. And then the second public hearing will be at, the second special meeting will be at 6:30. And this is for resolutions, to discuss resolutions and maintenance for street and highway intermunicipal. We're looking at some resolutions that need to be passed to get some funds. Motor fuel tax, MFT. So Jim's already here for all these meetings, but we'll have these next Tuesday night. So 6 o'clock is a public hearing, 6:30 is the special meeting, 7 o'clock is the village board meeting. All right, make sure I can cover all this special meetings. There you go. Second year I've announced this. Hopefully when someone will want to do this. This is the Mrs. Illinois American Pageant. Okay. State finals for the Mrs. Illinois American Pageant will be held on April 25th, 2015 in Elgin, Illinois. We're receiving this because they're asking all presidents. They're being contacted to have a representative to represent your town. If a contestant should win, there's a lot of things that can help our community. They should win. What they're looking at is we encourage you to get a beautiful married lady from your town to call the Miss Illinois office and ask for an application. The number is, if anyone's writing it down, 630-325-4305. Let's see here. Married, this is Mrs. Illinois American Pageant. All right? They're asking that you send as many representatives from your town that have qualified of beauty, poise, and personality that you feel could win this prestigious title. They're asking that we put this in our newsletter also. So I'll pass this over to you. But just to give you an idea, so far, we have a surrounding community that has someone, a contestant, that is coming from Madison. So if you know anyone, let's get this out. And let's see if we get Sauk Village recognized for the Mrs. Illinois American Pageant. So if you would, please pass it on Sauk Talk. And you don't need to put that on the website. I need that. All right. And then last, we've got the next Meet the Mayor coming up. And this one's called Bring Your Sweetheart on February 14th here at the Village Hall. So we had a good one. What was it, last Saturday? Saturday before. I can't lose track of time anymore. But we had a good turnout. We had a lot of good residents. I had a lot of good questions. In fact, I was going through some of those questions again. Make sure that we get the questions and answers typed up so when the residents come back, we'll have something for them in our hand. But I think it's a good time. It's a good time if someone has a little bit of free time on Saturday morning from 9 to 11. I know the last one we had went a little bit over, but there were some good questions and some great comments. So bring your sweetheart out on February 14th here at Village Hall from 9 to 11. All right, with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
We do have flyers in the back for the meet and greet for the candidates.
Was it EJD?